This is really hard, but I've got to do it. I've got to do it. Um, Welcome and welcome back. I know it's a madness. I sound real silly because I've been gone. I've been just gone. But no, I've been here. Life has been so chaotic as always, as expected, and unfortunately, my YouTube channel took a hit. But I'm not allowing that to happen anymore. I'm back and I'm gonna be here every single day. And I hope you'll be here to stay. So much has changed. I got locks now. I am 6 months into my lock journey. Yep, self installed, and I'm very proud of it actually. And as some of you know, we moved to Suffolk last year, and we are now homeowners as well. So we moved into our new place on Mother's Day, end of March. So great things are happening, and I wish I documented it all the way I imagined I would have, all the way from our move from London to moving to Ipswich, renting to buying, but I don't know, picking up a camera and talking and all of that, it was just seeming too much for me at the time, but I'm not being defeated anymore. So anyway, the topic of today is about buying a house, right? Yeah, we're not the first, we're not the last people to buy a house, but on my days, I wish there was so much that we did and asked before making an offer on this place, and no doubt if we did, we would have been able to bring the price down a little bit more when negotiating. But you live and you learn, and I just feel it in my heart to share this with people so that hopefully you can not make the same mistake we did. Sorry, I have notes. So, and yeah, so I'll explain the reason for these questions and these things to check, and why they're important, because it will definitely save you in the way that, you know, I wish it saved us, but here we are. So first question to ask is always going to be about the boiler. The boiler is very important in a country like England, unfortunately, right? Unfortunately, we live in a cold country. So the question to ask is, has the boiler had any issues in the last 1 year? So I asked that because boilers act up usually when they're like, you know, beyond 10 years old. They're known to start messing up, needing repairs and all of that stuff. I mean, we did ask, I remember on the day that we, you know, made our offer, we did ask when was the boiler last serviced, and they said, I mean, the previous owners had lived here for 5 years and they had never serviced it, but they were aware that it had been serviced just before they moved in by the previous owner before them. So that's the only information they had. So we were just like, oh, well, okay. And so during the renovation process of this place, we were here like every day, and it was March. It was still a bit cold, and the house was obviously not being lived in, so it was freezing. So we have obviously 2 small children, so we needed to put the heating on from time to time while we were here for a few hours. And every time we did, it was fine. You know, the thermostat worked fine. The boiler was always on, but the heating was off. And so when we were here, we put the heating on with the thermostat and on the boiler, and it was good. You know, when we left the house, we put it off, it went off, it was good, it was great. And so I was thinking, oh, okay, this boiler's pretty decent. Like, you know, it seems new. It's not new, but it seemed pretty new, and it was acting right. And like, yeah, great, we got a good one here. And then literally now about 3.5 weeks into living here, I put the boiler on. No, I put the heating on because the boiler's always on. I put the heating on one evening just to heat the house up for a few hours before we go to bed. And, you know, it was fine. I mean, our kitchen, we have 2 heaters in the kitchen. One stopped working all of a sudden. It wasn't that big of a deal at the time. Okay, fine. But to be honest, that is an issue. It needs to be fixed as well. And so yeah, we're going to bed that day. I put the heating off, but I leave the boiler on. and I just think nothing of it. So now I'm being woken up by extreme heat at around 2 a.m. and I just put my hand on the heater in the bedroom and it's on. I'm thinking, what the heck is going on? I go downstairs to check the boiler and the heating is off. The thermostat is on 0, like I put it, but the heating is on. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what's the issue? Something is wrong here. I mean, I'm not in the right frame of mind to be checking it like that, so I just switched the whole boiler off, right? And go back to check it the next day, and same situation. Long story short, the boiler is messed up because every time the boiler is on, the heating is on, and obviously we don't want that. And it's unnecessary. There's no need to be paying those kind of bills either, right? And you don't want your house to be burning hot all day long, especially now that it's summer. So right now our boiler stays off throughout the whole summer. Like, we just keep it off unless we absolutely need it on, if the house is freezing for some random reason, right? But the downside to that is that there's also no hot water while the boiler is off, which is fine for now because we have an electric shower, so the boiler situation doesn't affect us having hot water when showering, and we also have a dishwasher now as well, so we don't have to be like having our hands in cold water when washing dishes and stuff. But also because it's so warm in the UK right now, the pipes are like making the water kind of warm anyway, so it's not freezing or excruciatingly cold to use. So my point is find out if the boiler has had any issues in the last 1 year, because if the sellers are genuine and honest and they say yes, then you're gonna ask, is it a situation where the heating is on because the boiler because of an issue with the boiler or something. Anyway, that will help to determine whether you need to bring your offer down in order to accommodate for the money that's going to be spent on the boiler being fixed or replaced, or if that's something they're going to do, but very unlikely that a seller is going to do that, right? So then another thing is that I remember the listing for this house, it specifically mentioned the boiler, right? And it said that the boiler was installed in 2017. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, okay, it's a fairly newish boiler, 2017, 2024 at the time. That makes it a 7-year-old boiler, which is not bad. So I was like, okay, cool. So I never even asked her when was it installed, because I thought I had the answer. So then when it comes down to it now, we have a plumber check the situation, and he says that he strongly believes that it's the motherboard that is the issue and needs replacing. He said that, we should call the manufacturer to see whether the boiler is within date to still be on warranty. And so in my mind, I'm thinking 2017, it's less than 10 years, it should be. Made that call only to find out that the boiler was actually installed in 2014, which would make it now almost 11 years old. So that was a real shock and really unfortunate to find out. So that's 2 questions in regards to the boiler to ask. There's one question here, but I'm going to ask that. That's going to be a final question. So another one is to check another thing to check when viewing a property, like if you're really strongly considering buying this place, is to check the positioning of the pipework underneath the kitchen sink, and check, is it leaking, right? Because that's an issue that we had, and of course we didn't check because that was just not something in my mind or my husband's mind. And alongside that is to ask to look inside the dishwasher if it is a house that has a dishwasher. I know it might seem random and invasive, but it's actually very important. And so the reason for that is because when we now bought our own dishwasher, after just one wash, our first use of it, I noticed the day after that, oh my gosh, none of the water drained. It was full of water at the bottom of the dishwasher, and I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like, how did that happen? Why did it not drain? So I'm trying to do all of this research on YouTube to figure it out. None of it was relevant to our situation, so I had to get a plumber. My husband tried to fix, the pipe situation, but that wasn't working. And that was the correlation between the pipe work underneath the sink and the dishwasher not draining. So thank God an amazing plumber came out and he instantly knew what the issue was, and he said that it's most likely the case that the previous owners have just been living like that with their dishwasher never draining. And I'm thinking that's insane, but who knows, maybe they just dealt with it because they didn't know what the issue was, right? But that wasn't something that we were going to be able to live with. So yeah, so luckily he knew straight away. He looked underneath the kitchen sink because it was leaking as well, which was the reason for coming, and he said the positioning of the pipe is too high. So what he had to do was take that pipe out, make a new hole through the brick wall to the outside, and put a new pipe in like a couple of inches lower than the original place, and that enabled the water to now drain properly from the dishwasher and from the kitchen sink out of the house, and there's been no more leaking. Honestly, it was such a relief to have that done. But the issue with that is that, you know, that now became our headache, which shouldn't have been. And obviously it became our expense as well. And plumbers are extremely, extremely, extremely expensive. So that is something to check for when looking at a home. Because if you see that the pipework is just a bit too high, you're going to be like, ooh, this is going to need changing. Can you do that? And if not, then that's a reason to reduce your offer to buy the house, you know. And yeah, if the dishwasher still has water inside of which it shouldn't, that's a clear indicator that there's an issue that needs fixing. So also another one is to check that the toilet flushes properly. I know it sounds crazy. We didn't think to do that. We didn't check that. Luckily, we were already going to renovate the whole bathroom, going to gut it and redo it, of which we did, thank God. But imagine if we didn't, it would have been a major issue, because only once we now had the keys and we came in and we actually needed the toilet, did I realise that this toilet does not flush at all. The handle did not work, it was gone. It's like, oh my days, that's so cheeky of, you know, the sellers to not point that out, but that was something. And then another thing, go to wash our hands in the bathroom and the cold water tap is just drip, 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 like nothing was coming out. And I was just like, is this a joke? But luckily, we got new taps, and that seems to have solved the problem anyway, because we were going to get rid of the sink and the bathtub, but we ended up keeping the sink and the bathtub and just changing all of the taps and the drains and everything. And then another one to ask, oh my gosh, this video is getting quite long. Another one to ask is about the guttering. Well, not ask, but check the guttering on the property or on the exterior of the house. I guess this is only applicable to a house and not an apartment or anything. So when you're walking up to the house, like before you get to the front door, look up, look at the guttering. Is it intact or is it falling? Of which in our case, it was falling, and it was actually our uncle that noticed it when he came to do the first viewing with us. He noticed that it was falling at the front of the house, and so that was something that, you know, before we completed on the sale of this place, something that had to be fixed to put back in its correct position. Because obviously that can cause major issues if water is not draining properly on the guttering and it's going down the house on the bricks and the windows and all of that. Like, that would be a major issue. So also to check that around the back of the house as well, like from the garden, very important. And then my last question, which is actually extremely important and I think very much overlooked, is to ask about whether the previous owners had any problems with any of the neighbours. Extremely important. If you're going to buy a house, obviously you intend to be there for a long period of time, And so it's very important to know that you're living amongst, civilized human beings, because unfortunately we have discovered that, we have some extremely terrible human beings for neighbours across the road. And it just makes the experience of living here not as great and not as sweet as we, envisioned it would be. Everybody else, it's a very, very, very long road that we live on. Everybody else that we've met so far are very lovely people, but just the one bad egg, is unfortunately, leaving a sour taste in our mouths and just making us reconsider whether we would be here for as long as we thought we would be. But by God's grace, everything will work out and God will deal with them, right? So there's definitely more questions, I believe, but that's all I can think of right now. And if any more pop to mind, then there'll be a part 2. So see you in the next one. Thanks, bye. Welcome. No, I hate talking like that. Olivia, tell me how to talk.
You know how to talk, just talk. You understand?
What is it? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me, bro?